Right, Seb, this is ground zero. This is 1993, Allhallows. Tell us about it.
Well, Dave, firstly, fantastic to be here. Wow, what amazing memories.
Yep.
And look, Allhallows, almost unique. We were so lucky. We didn't quite realise how lucky we were. I think its strength was the location, as we all remember, which was probably its weakness in terms of, from a business point of view, attracting students way off on the cliffs, in the mist, in the fog, away from everywhere. No, but it was an amazing place, amazing experience. And I think, when we arrived, you were there, September 1993, it was still an amazing school.
I mean, I'll be honest, as a 13-year-old, quite terrifying in many ways. You go down the long drive and you get there and you realise it's a very different cultural understanding when you get there from a prep school.
Yeah. Yes,
prep schools prepare you, that's their job. But when you get to somewhere like Allhallows, you think, oh wow, this is very different. I remember Mr. Newbury saying to all of us in the common room in Lily's, saying, you might think you've come from, you're a very big fish in a small pond, here you are a very small fish in a very big pond.
Yes, and the prefects ruled the school then in 93, 94, which wasn't the case when we got there. But they did, and we were still doing fagging, as I know you did in Lily's and I did in Venning. Every morning we would clean the rooms, tidy up, hoover the floors, clean the bathrooms, and if we didn't do it, the prefects doled out the punishments. And I do remember, for most of my third form, doing defaulters drill, which was changing into your PE kit and running around the front lawn, terrace, all day, basically, with the prefects on, must have been midi balcony, watching and shouting, which was an interesting experience, but, toughened you up.
In many ways, I hear so many people say, toughen you up, the whole idea of the headmaster's house in the 50s and before. I said to Michael Shaw, who was there in the late 50s, how did you get to school, from the headmaster's house? Where to get a bike or walk? It's a long way. He said it's there to toughen you up.
Yeah, totally. And look, that's another story. Whether it should be similar to that now, not quite the same, but massive experiences. And I think there was so much opportunity at the school. And I remember the CCF, which was brutal. Well, maybe more the army section.
I was going to say the army. Speaking as a Navy person.
Yes, Navy was relatively straightforward. But the army, and we were very lucky because we had RSM Johns, who was just formidable, but he only was with us for a year or so. And then we managed to acquire, I think through David Crease, we managed to have Sergeant Rose, ex-Royal Marine, and he was just an amazing character. Again, tough as old boots, put us through our paces, but we had some amazing experiences in the Undercliff, the survival exercises, etc.
I think that's the thing. Navy was great from a point of view. It was slightly easier. I think that as a child you probably wanted, maybe some did, an easier path, but with the army you had some pretty awesome experiences.
Totally. I think one experience that I'll never forget. We weren't the most able. We were a bit of a rabble, but Sergeant Rose got us all together and kicked us into shape. But he introduced that whole team spirit, that unity, not about individuals, and we absolutely bought into that. And I think it was the end of the fourth form, we went to the annual military camp at Penhale in Cornwall. And it was a bit of a competition, as it always is, with all the other schools. And we did the long stomp, the march, which was a win or lose situation. And incredibly, we won it against all the odds. I mean, no one gave us a chance, but it's all thanks to Sergeant Rose teaching us team spirit, working together.
And I think that's the thing, above all, that I remember and I'm thankful to Allhallows for, is because not necessarily I'm not the most academic person, but the team ability and also the ability to socially talk to anybody, confidence.
Yeah,
and I think Allhallows really does and did do that.
Brought out the best. Look, it it was a hard environment for some people, or if not for all people, at some stage throughout their career. But I think it did have an ethos of team spirit. It was a small school, and I think in essence it brought everyone together. And we saw that on the sports field. I mean, you were a fantastic squash player.
Mine was, again, I don't think Allhallows was it didn't preference the racket sports. It was more about the rugby, the cricket, the hockey, which was great. I enjoyed hockey and I enjoyed cricket. We played a lot of cricket. There's one memory that has always stayed with me, and I can't remember who we were playing. It was fairly late on in our career at Allhallows. We had an international side touring. Anyway, they were bashing it all over the pitch, all over, and we were running around, and the ball, you could see the ball coming, and I just couldn't get it, and it went over the rope, and everyone went, Dave, did he go over the rope? No.
Very good, Dave.
See, that was a problem.
Somebody taught you well. Yeah, no, we did okay. Fascinating to see George Hayter's data review of all sports teams, and I think sadly we fell out of that time at Allhallows when data wasn't collected, but I think we did okay, especially on the rugby field. That first 15, those last 2 years when we were in the sixth form were fantastic experiences, and we were taking it to the Sherburns and the Camfords. Admittedly, it may have been their second team, but it didn't matter. No, really, really good fun, and I think I'll have to be honest. We played hard, worked not very hard, and had a bit to drink on a Saturday night.
Absolutely. I mean, being in an environment like that, it's not always about work. It was about going down the Undercliff. It was about experiencing things. When I first arrived there, my challenge was to get back on the bus, but of course nobody wanted to help me. When they drive us out into the middle of nowhere and say, "Can you find your way back to school with a map and a compass?" And of course, all the few kids want to do in my year, and I won't name them, but they'll know who they are. All just rolling up bits of leaves to smoke. I'm like, guys, I'm going to get back on the bus.
Well, totally, Dave. And I think, look, Saturday nights after sport, we had our free time, although we had to be back in our boarding houses for roll call at, I don't know, 7:30, 8:30, and then we could go out again. And clearly a roll call at a strategic time to make sure that you weren't a little bit worse for wear. So I think the plan went a little bit like this. We sent somebody down to Lyme Regis or Seaton on the booze run, and hopefully they survived and smuggled it back in, stashed it in the Undercliff, usually at the what we called the bus stop, which was a little bus, I don't know, it couldn't have been a bus stop, but a shelter on the path down the Undercliff towards the pumping station. And there was a loose couple of rocks with a sort of compartment in the side, and that's where the stash would be. So we would go down there.
Is that by Ladies Walk?
Yeah, I think
I know it.
If you went out of Venning, walked around Ladies Walk, and then dropped down on the right. Yes, exactly. So somebody would then go down and retrieve the booze, and then we would disperse into various copses around those front lawns and have a bottle of wine, or worse. And drink just enough so we could get through roll call, and then out we went again and had a bit more.
Amazing.
And very rarely did we get caught.
That's the Allhallows experience. It should be applauded.
There was one more thing, Dave, I forgot. And I'm sure a lot of Venningites will remember this, but in the lower sixth, the ground floor dormitory, far corner overlooking the sea, beautiful dormitory, not that we realised it at the time, had a cellar. And we discovered it. I'm sure other generations knew all about it. And we obviously made the most of it, mainly brewing beer, etc. And there was one remarkable evening when we were meant to be doing prep. We'd decided to all go down into the cellar, have a few pints, and we'd left, I think it was Rupert Duff, very clever, now works for PwC, upstairs doing his maths A-level. Anyway, in comes one of the tutors, boarding house staff members, and says to Rupert, "Where the hell is everyone else?" And Rupert said, "Well, I think they've popped out, sir. I'm sure they won't be long." And he wandered into the little bed study area, which was mine, where the cellar entrance was, and put his foot on the floorboard and said, "Duff, why the hell is this floorboard moving? And it looks like there's a gap." And he said, No, don't worry, sir, it's nothing." And he said, "Okay, well, can you get your screwdriver out and repair it?" And walked off. And we were like, oh my goodness, we were underneath, cowering. But there we go, survived.
Amazing. Well, you know, Venning is now a bar again, so there is a bar in the foundation.
Well, that's the history. It would be fascinating to hear from older generations whether they used it as well.
Absolutely.
But we had the old engine house, pub, bar, pub.
Wow, yes, there was that, wasn't there, for sixth form?
Yeah. Which again, I think was commissioned in the late 80s.
Yeah,
I think
so, because before that it would have been what Lily's was, which was the sixth form study block. They had some form of bar in there.
But that was fantastic, and we had our beer tokens. I think we were allowed 2 pints, but of course you probably collated some from the Wednesday and Saturday nights you were allowed in there.
Amazing.
And again, fantastic. It just, again, unique. Those experiences, the fire service, Coast Guard, the estate, roaming free.
There's nothing like it. You can go to any other, obviously I work in the education sector now, and schools and things, and you won't find anything quite like we had an experience at Allhallows. There's nothing around.
No, and Dave, that's probably part of the bigger conversation. It's sad, and hopefully some of these other schools can survive. It's tough, and long may they continue, because it's a brilliant experience.
It is, and maybe this is what's so unique and very special about the OH Club, is because we all realise, actually, even people who had a tough time, and believe me, I had a tough time at Allhallows, you know, we all realise actually what an incredible experience, what an incredible place it was. Yeah. And how almost, you know, when you're young, you don't appreciate the things around you. You think, oh, it's just school, or I'm having a bad time.
Totally. And yeah, we, as I said, we didn't realise how special it was, and it's a testament to the students, to everyone that went there, and to the teachers that were still going as a club, 25 years plus on. And it, you know, to relive those memories, to have events, to all meet up. Sure, there's other OHs that haven't come to events. Come along and let's have a chat, because those memories are so precious.
They are
Amazing memories.
And you know, it's interesting. You know, I can have a conversation with somebody who was there in the 50s, or the 60s, or the 70s, or the 80s, or whatever. And we all have similar strands. We all have similar understandings of the topography, if you like, the geography of the place, the surroundings, but also equally the kind of feel that it had, the kind of, you know, experience you had with the sixth form running things or whatever, you know, making toast in the dining hall and taking it to the sixth formers and saying it's not right, it's the wrong colour, take it back, all those kind of things.
Yeah, look, amazing, but very sad, obviously, that when it closed, and we were very lucky to survive. We missed it by a term, didn't we? We I think they had another term after. Exactly. We left in the summer of '98, and sadly it closed December. I was down in New Zealand, and I managed to get somebody sent me a fax to my uncle, I think, at the time, who then called me up to say, look, received this fax, and the school's closed, and a big moment, and I think, look, we arrived when it was still a formidable school, but was clearly having financial trouble. And I think it was 94, 95 when it became a limited company, and it changed from a school to a college, and we had Chief Executive Muller. Yes. Not sure what he did. But the point was that, and from what I know, and having been on the committee for a long time, is that the Hobbs brothers had bailed the school out significantly to keep it going, with the view of a long-term evolution, and okay, they kept it going for another 3-4 years, which was critical for us. So huge thanks to them.
Massive
because
thanks.
Otherwise it would have closed in 94.
It would have done, and it's ironic. I mean, I didn't notice again, because, you know, as a sort of 14, 15-year-old, you don't notice all the things around you. I thought the school was going okay. Yeah, the numbers weren't massive, but it was quite a shock to me, and I was slightly distressed. The only thing I ever won at Allhallows, I think, is long gone. It was a cup for badminton, inter-house badminton. Chris Rachel and I melted down somewhere, I expect, but you never know.
Well, Dave, you were exceptional at squash and badminton.
Yes.
Elite. And I think a lot of the trophies, there was an auction soon after the school closed, so it's probably out there.
It is out there somewhere. They got my name on those. They put DN Woollatt rather than DL. But
there were many trophies. But no, I was thinking, critical that the school was sort of bailed out, and we didn't really know that it was struggling financially, because everything was still performing. You know, we were still getting meals.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And other things. And you know, it was fantastic that it carried on for so long as it did. But obviously very sad. when it had to close. But Muller, not sure what he did. Anyway, but he, and I don't know who was responsible for this, but Don Palmer became a big figurehead alongside Keith Moore, and he was responsible for a lot of the sort of sporting evolution and numbers and recruiting from
international students.
International students, and there had been some at private schools before, but he was a huge influence in Asia, East Asia, Hong Kong, Malaysia, where he was originally from, and he was a heavyweight. I mean, he kept the school going and those numbers coming through, and he was very much part of the OH committee. A massive, staunch supporter of the club and cricket and hockey and golf and triple colour he was and cricket. So it was very sad when he died a number of years ago. And alongside Derek Blumen, Roger Wheeler, formidable, Don Palmer, as I said, and then Roddy and everyone else that has contributed so much to the end of the school and then to the club over these last 25 years.
So we've got a lot to be grateful for and a lot to say thank you for as well. And that's why the importance of carrying on the club and doing all that we do and bringing people, because essentially the role of the club and the committee is to bring OHs back together in social forums.
Yeah, totally. And Dave, look, when it all ended in 98, I'm going to reverse this now. What did you do?
What did I do? Well, I went into radio. I was, a lot of people remember me at school wanting to go into radio. I told a bit of a porky that we were going to set up a pirate radio station in Venning, which never happened because I didn't have a transmitter. Everyone was like, well, when are you going to bring transmitter?
You always said you were going to do radio.
Yeah, I always said radio. So I ended up doing radio and I loved it. Had a great time doing radio. Ended up being a producer, so making adverts and scripting and those kind of things. And then led into marketing, a sort of natural kind of movement into marketing and finding ways of promoting companies and businesses and charities and schools. And here I am.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then we made the link because of course I knew you'd gone to Forres.
Yeah.
And that's when you contacted me and we had a long chat about Allhallows and Forres and all these things. And it's remarkable how many students actually came from Forres to Allhallows. Lots.
Totally. And look, obviously you met up with Mike Shaw the other day, who is now 80 years old, 81, and he obviously was at Forres.
Yes.
There were a few. The Hawks sisters. John Owen actually went to the Malt House, which was our arch rival in Swanage, Forres. But no, fascinating from your side, and you were very talented at the badminton and the squash, and then obviously you love the radio, and we both did. Important, this sports science. A-level, not PE.
No, it changed a bit. We always had a T-shirt, and it was always some sort of T-shirt or a polo they got branded.
Yeah. No, great. I must admit, from my side, I didn't really utilise that side of it. I incredibly went on to study geology, thanks to Keith Moore.
Of course.
Although I wasn't very good at it, and so studied that at university, and then didn't really know what to do. Was going to join the army, follow in father's footsteps, and then summer 02. And I had some work experience with Savills in sort of new properties in Canary Wharf over that June-July period. And long story short, it was quite easy, good times, good market, and didn't go to the army, didn't do any further education, and started selling new property in London City and Canary Wharf. And then, well, there was a bit of an evolution over the next 22 years. So,
wow,
yeah,
that's
crazy
impressive.
times.
That is impressive.
No, it was good. It was good. I was lucky in a way in 08, 09, global financial crisis, a brutal time for everyone, including private schools, and managed to survive the huge redundancies that happened across the board. And but at the end of 09, I knew, because all of our teams had shrunk massively in size. I mean, it was literally had gone from 20 dedicated people selling prime London product to the global markets down to 2, and I was one of them, and it was desperate. Anyway, long story short, we realised the pound had crashed, and against the US linked currencies in Asia, it became very affordable for East Asian buyers, Southeast Asian buyers to buy into London, so Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia. And we jumped on a plane, went out to Hong Kong and started selling prime London property to the Hong Kong Chinese. And really, the rest is history, because since then, Hong Kong, Singapore, Malaysia, the Middle East, Russia a long time ago, and now China and Turkey are the dominant investors into London, which has kept me pretty busy, although, yeah, a lot of travel. So
amazing.
Yeah.
What a career.
Well,
so far, you know.
We'll see. We'll see. Not easy, but
Incredible.
no, but like you, Dave, amazing.
But it only feels like a heartbeat ago in many ways, leaving Allhallows. So it's very strange that we are here, 26 years later, you know, and discussing it's no longer here. But we as a group, as the OH club, is very much still here, and I think that's what's very special.
Totally, and look, as we've said, as you've promoted hugely, the West Country Lunch is a classic time for us all to get together on the 11th of May. So I'll see you there.
Yeah, I'll see you there.
And hopefully see lots of other people
Absolutely, do come along. It's going to be a wonderful event. And
Great.
Also, Seb Warner, thank you so much. OH 93 to 98.
Thank you, Dave. Same with you, 93, 98, and amazing job you're doing for the club.
And you
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.